Hello everyone, welcome to the TSS. In this class we will discuss about the most interesting topic called functions. So functions plays very important role in any programming language, friends. Okay, so let us discuss about it. Function is a group of statements that perform specific task. What is a function? Sorry, what is a function is nothing but it's not a different thing, friends. We are already doing it. So just it's a group of statements with which is having some name. We will assign one name to some group of statements, friends. Okay, for what purpose? For code reusability purpose. If you want the same code, the same functionality in some other file you are working or some other project you are working, then you can make use of that block of code in the another project also. Okay, so that is the purpose of creating functions, right? So if you don't do that thing, then you need to rewrite your code again and again, right? So let me discuss in the advantages. And now what is function means, it's simple. A function is a group of statements that perform specific task with a name. Okay, some custom names we will give to that group of statements, friends. Okay, let us discuss about the advantages of functional programming. We have uh, programming paradigms. Okay, we have programming paradigms, friends. Programming paradigms means programming methodology, right? So we have functional programming, we have object oriented programming, and we have subroutines programming, right? So procedural programming is there, right? So many programming paradigms are there. In that, JavaScript allows us to do functional programming as well as object oriented programming also. Both paradigms JavaScript has. Okay, let us discuss about functional programming methodology, friends. In functional programming, what we do is, so the code, if you have say some 100 lines of code is there, just we will divide that 100 lines of code, let's for suppose say 10 lines, and for 10 lines of code we will assign some names. Okay, some names, that is called the function name. So that 10 lines of code will do a specific purpose. Okay, that 10 lines of code for that specific purpose, if you want that purpose, that functionality at some other project or some other scripting file, then you can make use of that 10 lines of code by calling with the name which we have given to it, which you have assigned to it, right? So in the next classes we will see all those mechanisms. For this class I am introducing what is function and what are the advantages of functional programming, friends. Let us see. Code reusability. What is code reusability means? So the thing which I told now just a little while. So code reusability means, so if you are working on some file, so you developed some functionality, say some let us say here I had given the syntax of the function in the JavaScript. So if you want to declare functions, then this is the syntax, friends. You need to type this keyword function and then the name which you want to give to that block of statements. Okay, that is the name. Then parentheses you should open, then flower brackets you should open, so to refer the block of statements. So this block of statements will determine the task. Okay, what functionality you want to do, that statements you have to place here. and you need to assign one name to this block of statements. For what? For calling this functionality with the name, okay, with this name, right? Okay, let us say, suppose you define some simple function like addition. Okay, let us see it. Add function, and I am naming this block of code as add. Okay, because this block of code will do addition functionality. Okay, that's why I had given the name add. Okay, the parenthesis I open and the flower brackets I open, same the syntax, right? And so I took one variable a and assigned 10, variable b assigned 20, then variable result, and this mathematical function is happened here. A plus b, 10 plus 20, that is 30, is stored in the result. Then the result will be displayed on the console. So this is the little functionality. Okay, so now if you want this functionality in some other file you are working, or in some other project you are working, then what you will do means you just call this block of code by its name. That name is add, right? So calling a function, whenever you require, you can just call this name, that's it. You don't need to repeat all these codes again in the file where you are working, or in the project where you are working. That is what the functions is all about, friends. The purpose of the functions is the code reusability. So this code we will write once and name it with a specific name, and then this functionality wherever we want we will use. So we had written once, but we are using several times by what? By calling just simply its name, not again by writing all this code. Here I am showing you just a 4 lines of code, friends. In real time scenarios, the functions will cope up to say some 50 lines of code, 80 lines of code, like that. So for big functionalities, so you need that much of code. So you can't do all those things again and again wherever you want that functionality. That is the smartest way, is first you define the functionality, the block of statements, and we will name those block of statements with some name. And whenever we required at some other places in which we are working, so at that time what we will do is we just call that function name, not by rewriting all this code. Then if you call like this, add with a parenthesis, then all this code will be executed, right, friends? That is the purpose of the function. Now we will discuss about the advantages, because the theory beforehand is important to understand before going to understand the advantages. Okay, the basic theory I had explained. Now you can relate that with the advantages. Code reusability. Here we had defined this code once, right, and we had added a name to it. And if you want this type of functionality in any other file or in any other project where you are working, you just call it with the name, that's it. Okay, you don't need to rewrite this code again and again. Okay, you write once, use the code several times. That is called code reusability. And then number 2, second advantage is code maintenance becomes easy. Very important, friends. Code maintenance means what? Code maintenance means, say for an example I am telling, if you are doing a project, okay, let's take this example. You are doing some project, and to complete your project you are developing some code. Okay, let us say your code is going lines after lines after lines of say 1,000 lines of code you developed. Okay, so take this case. If the code gone wrong at some place, right? Some place, some multiple places the code has gone wrong and bugs are there. The things are not going well as you expected. Think in that way. Then what do? You will do all those debugging kind of things, right? Debugging kind of things you will do where the code is gone faulty, each line by line, logic by logic you are verifying. Think to review those 1,000 lines of code where the code was gone faulty, like that. It is very easy, and okay, it's very difficult, very difficult to trace that code without if it is not functional, if your code is not modular, if your code is not proper, and you roughly developed the 1,000 lines of code by yourself without any functions, then it is very tough, friends. Okay, not only for debugging, for maintaining that code also. So what theory now I am explaining is it's relevant to both second and third point. So debugging is very difficult if you don't use functions. If you use functions, then the 1,000 lines of code, say some 100 lines of code, for that 100 lines of code you will name with some specific function name. We will name that 100 lines of code with one function name, then next 100 lines of code with another function name. Then your code becomes modular. If any bugs will be there, then it will show so and so function is causing problem. Then you just leave the all other functions, and then you only concentrate the function where the code becomes error prone, right? So debugging is easy, and then the maintenance also easy. The maintenance means if you are developing a software package for your client, so you need to not only 1,000 lines, you that package, that software package or application development may take some 10,000 or 1 lakh lines of code. Generally you alone won't develop that much of code. Generally in software environments, teams will do. Okay, some team of developers will do. Then say if your team has say 10 developers, then 10 developers will assign different tasks, and different people will work, and the codes will be developed. And the developed codes, how the developed codes, say some developer 1 will develop say 500 lines of code, developer 2 will develop some 1,000 lines of code, okay, and developer 3 develops some say 2,000 lines of code. Like that, some 10 developers will develop their own code, and we need to integrate those codes together to make that application complete, right? And then to make that application work in real-time environments, okay, you need to integrate all those code which was developed by different developers in your team, right? So that is the area where the code maintenance comes into picture. So if developers developed their own code without any functions or without any modularity, some packaging becomes difficult, and integrating becomes very difficult, friends. Okay, so if any bug comes, that tracing of fault is a nightmare, right? So that packaging and integrating of code is very difficult without functions or without object oriented concept also, right? So object oriented programming, we are not yet come to that stage. We came to functional programming. In object oriented programming, it is much more advanced than functional programming. So let us discuss that at that time. And then code maintenance, debugging becomes easy. I had explained. And modular packages, modular package. So you can you can view this 2 3 4 all these 3 points 2 3 4 all these 3 points are related to each other. So now what I had explained, that theory is relevant to all these 3 points, friends. So that modular means the modularity will be provided to your big chunks of code. Okay, so it will automatically give the readability of your code and neatness to your code, right? So if it is not there, if you didn't develop your program by functional approach, your code will span to so many lines, thousands and thousands of lines, and eventually the code readability was lost. And the developer who developed the code, he himself won't understand the code after 1 month, or not why 1 month, just 2 days he will confused himself, right? So functional programming is very very powerful, friends, because of all these advantages. That's why every developer or software engineer is encouraged to do to develop programs in a functional oriented approach or object oriented approach, right? So it depends upon the purpose, friends, right? So let us demonstrate this function, simple function in VS Code. Let us take one new file, functions.js. New file I am taking, friends. Now to define function, what we need to do, we need to use keyword function. Let us say I will use different approach. So I want to develop addition functionality. Okay, addition program, simple. Okay, so for this thing what you do, simple, first take where some variable and assign some value, and where b assign some value. Okay, and where result a plus b. Okay, so this is the simple lines of code which even in first class kid also will understood this code, right? And then to display it in console, what we will do, console.log result. So we want to print that result to the console, right? So first line of code, second line of code, third, fourth, these 4 line of codes will do. Let us clear and save it. Saved. Now node functions.js, let me execute it. Here 30 result came. Okay, so no problem. So now I am coming to the functional approach, functional programming approach. Now I want to sorry, now I want to make this block of code to be a function. So if I want this functionality, this additional functionality in some other file, okay, in some other file, then what I need to do is simple, make this block of statements as a function, name this block of code with some specific name, right? Now I am writing function. For that I need to write function and then add function add. Okay, now the curly braces should come here and the curly braces should end here. Okay, okay, now so this is the function keyword. Then so whatever you need to put a name to this block of code, that name you need to specify here. So because this a bit of code is doing addition functionality, that's why I named it as simply add, and the parenthesis we have opened. This parenthesis is the place of giving the passing the arguments. So that topic we will study in the next classes. Okay, so and then the code block started. Okay, the flower brackets has opened, and now this block of code is said to be a function, right? That name is this one. Okay, now if you want this functionality, you didn't again sit and write all this code. You just simply add, call the name, that's it. If you call that name, mention that name in your file, then all this code will be executed automatically for you. It's very smart way of doing programming. So this is the way to access this block of code, right? So in the 11th line I am calling that function, right? Okay, let me save this one. Now node function.js I am executing. Okay, so let us here now also 30. Now there is no change previous or now. The change is only that we had made this block of code to be inside a function and name is added. Now at whatever line I want, I will add this. I will just call the name, then all this code block will be executed automatically, right friends? That is the concept. And if you want, for example, suppose if you want to execute this bit of code, right, this bit of code in some other file, okay, here, so some other file, you can do like this also, add. Okay, add, and now node, what is that? Here the file name is dowhile.js. Okay, add is not defined here, okay, because we need to import that add. Okay, import that add and then you need to do. Okay, so that import statements is somewhat advanced. We doesn't reach that stage. Whenever we reach that stage, then I will explain. So the functions which we had defined in one file, how to use this function in another file. Okay, you need to import that functions. Okay, in that way we will reuse the code in any other files wherever you want, in any other projects wherever we want, and another packages also. Okay, right friends, this is the concept. The basic core concept of functions is this, right? In the next class we will discuss about functions with arguments, right? Until then, bye bye. Yours Veera signing off. Thank you for listening, friends.